Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live question and answer about the Mastermind course. First question that you might have is, did I know that the link that went out in today's email went to an experimental blue t-shirt? No, I did not know that when I set it up. So the system that I use is called Infusionsoft. If you are a mastermind, you will learn a lot more about that because that's what we use to communicate. It's how I function without any employees whatsoever. However, it's like chess. You have to really think through all the moves. And so as I was up last night, setting all this stuff up and making sure that the mastermind course was live and able to be enrolled in, forgot to check that one link. So sorry about that. But you can enroll at the Mastermind website, which you can go to homeperformance.training, or you can go to buildingperformanceworkshop./mastermind. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and put that into the that is the website that you would want to use. So in general, what I'd like to take questions about, if anybody is interested in asking questions today, is about the 6-week Distance Mastermind course. I have taken mastermind courses before. I generally learned how to do everything that I do from individual people. So I don't really go, I'm not a big conference guy. I'm not a big going to a giant classroom where there are 30 people. I want to really have a personalized relationship and a personalized experience because I tend to have weirder questions than everybody else has. My mind tends to skip ahead a couple of things before I really decide to digest what is right in front of me. I want to think through all the consequences and eventualities of what is going on. So I think that it's very valuable to have that ability to self-pace the study, to ask questions of an instructor, and especially to have that instructor be somebody who does what it is that you want to do, not just teaches it. Like, I don't want to, this is not quite the same thing, but I don't want to learn plumbing from a teacher who is teaching out of a book. I want to learn plumbing from watching a plumber do plumbing and showing, oh, this can happen, by the way. It wouldn't be in a book because it happens so rarely, but it happens to me enough that, it's something that you really want to be careful of because it can flood your client's house. Okay, great. I want to know that kind of stuff. So that's essentially what the course is about. If you've seen the 10-minute live tour of the back end of the course, basically it's 6 weeks, 6 modules. In each week, which opens on a Saturday morning at 6 a.m. your time, you get invited into the new week material. The week material will be a video or 2. This year, we're incorporating the videos that we've had. I'm not taking anything away so that we're not giving the newer participants less than I gave in the past. What we're trying to do is add. So you have a video that is an instructional video that I put together that's very finely crafted. In addition to which, a video that is a response video for me over the last 4 years, having culled a bunch more examples and lessons that I've learned in my own practice at Building Performance Workshop. And then a webinar that goes through kind of a more presentation style, not just me teaching and talking about it, but really like showing graphics and talking about what the ins and outs of everything are. Then you have a bunch of downloads. You have a bunch of interviews with people that I have asked questions of to make sure that I knew all the things that I was supposed to know. And I still don't know a lot. I have a daily basis where I ask myself if I'm a fraud because I did not go to engineering school. I was just talking about this with a friend of mine who is also in the home performance space. I went to one of the top music schools in the world. It's called Berklee College of Music. Thank you very much, Joe. Yes, we are all idiots, me included. So as far as the music goes, I would never ask myself if I'm a fraud for music because I know for a fact that no one has better training than I do in that. But I don't have an engineering degree. I don't have a master's degree in mechanical designs or anything like that. I don't have a bachelor's degree in engineering. So I never went to calculus class. So when there's things like talking about coefficients and exponents, I tend to tune out and go like, I don't know. Does it matter? Should I know that stuff? Generally, I want to know stuff that is applicable, that I can really help to make a difference in real life for people. If I don't need to know it, I don't want to know it. There's too little room up here, especially with kids now, for me to save a bunch of stuff that I don't need, that I can't use on a daily basis. So that's essentially what this course does. It's walking you through all of the things that I have done and am trying to do now, and I'm trying to get other people to do, That being said, this year, with the new updates that we're rolling out, I have realized that very few people are going to become, in a daily way, the ninja that I want everyone to be. We don't need everyone to be a ninja. We need for there to be one ninja in each metropolitan area, so that when you have a really weird problem, everybody knows who to call. Oh, call this person. They can definitely figure it out. Those are the only kinds of jobs that I'm really satisfied taking nowadays, because I'm just so bored with normal blower door tests and duct tightness tests. Just don't want to do them anymore. I want to do really weird, bizarre stuff where other people are intimidated to step into. Again, don't have a master's degree, an engineering degree, anything like that. This could be you. If you want to be the kind of person who is like, well, if you really, really need help and nobody else is willing to do it, you need to call Joe, for example. This is what this is about. So if you do not want to be that ninja, but you want to incorporate all this stuff and get better at it, then I am incorporating different levels so that you can kind of take the seeds, the fundamentals of what I do, and incorporate them. So like I've gotten asked, for example, a lot of years about a protocol. Tell me exactly what tests to run in what order. And in the past, I have been like really reluctant to give that out, because I believe, and it's not me trying to be obtuse. And Joe, I'm going to get to your Florida question in just a second. But I don't want to give people a script, because to me, the beauty of what we do is it's an improvisational art, just like what I used to do with music. You go in, you listen to your client, they tell you what they want, and then you make up what you're going to do. You craft it on the spot to help that person. Anything that is like, oh, we're going to do $99 energy audits for every single house, and it's going to be the same protocol, that is total BS if you want to get to this certain level of being able to help people. Now, that being said, is a $99 energy audit that follows a BPI, building analyst standard, that's been watered down in the last couple of years better than nothing? Yes, it is. So I'm now trying to be a little bit more of a realist and say, you know what? Okay, if we want to be able to use very simple things, and by the way, if we're talking about Florida, which Joe is asking about in just a second, I'm going to answer this question. Florida doesn't really do well with BPI, because BPI is based in the Northeast and they center a lot on combustion. And then also they have got a lot of stuff about ventilation and air tightness that's not the same as the rest of the country. So if you're in Florida and you're not a HERS rater, there's really not much else you can do. And by the way, HERS raters are very, refined. Often they're going to be focused in new construction. And by the way, I'm allowed to say that now because I'm not a HERS rater anymore. But generally, the way that it's broken out is HERS raters do new construction, BPI does existing construction. Of course, they like to say that they do both. That's just my experience being both. You could also be a passive house rater, et cetera, et cetera. There's all these different certifications. Really, no certification is going to give you everything that you need. What you need is to be able to know enough to customize everything to each individual client. Even if you're a plumber, if you're a carpenter, whatever it is, to be able to use these metrics and these kind of performance targets to deliver what is going on. So Joe says, I wish Florida would start to make code so people like me can become a ninja. No one cares around here. You should see how bad new home duct systems are. Yes, I hear you. And actually, I can tell you straight up that it is not Florida. That is exactly the same as anywhere else that you'd go in the country. And I know because we went around the country. Generally, there are a few ninjas out there, and they are doing head and shoulders above what anybody else in their local market is doing. That's just the way that it is. So and I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. In Austin, which is where we hung out, excuse my cat here, which is where we hung out for HomeChem, which we're going to be releasing videos from. I was just actually editing the promo video that we're going to be coming out in the next couple weeks. And there she is. Come here. Austin made code, duct tightness testing. They made energy testing code several years ago. It was probably about 6 or 7 years ago. What happened at that point is that it got so watered down that it just became a duct test, not even a blower door test. The blower door test, of course, is the most important test to do on any home. But no, it was a duct test. That's what they did. So what happened was everybody did a race to the bottom. Since it's a commodity now, you cannot do a duct test differently than anybody else does. So it's all going to be one price, and that price is $99. I charge $300 for a duct tightness test, because it takes a long time. It's very frustrating. It's very hot. You're using a lot of tape. You're going to do it probably twice or 3 times because you forgot to put a piece of tape on a register. And then you might have to wait around while they seal some stuff up. That is a big pain in the butt. So generally, code enforcement for these things is actually not as much of your friend as you'd think. Just like the energy programs that we were all so excited about back in 2008 are not actually your friend. They did not help this field to become mainstream. If they had, we would be in a much different place right now. So I'd say just, the reason to pursue excellence is so that you can pick up the phone and have somebody say, so how much do you cost? And you can say, well, first of all, just want you to know that you called the most expensive person in fill in the blank of any city. And that's my job, is wherever I am, I'm the most expensive person. And the reason for that is the same as Tesla is expensive. Teslas could be $30,000. Would people want them as much if they were $30,000? That's an interesting question. So in America, people, if it costs slightly more, people will value it slightly more. It's just something that happens. You might have this reaction in your head right now that says, well, if I become more expensive, I'm going to lose all my clients. My answer to that is probably you didn't want any of those clients anyway. If they're all really seriously milking you for every dollar, you do not want anything to do with those people. You would be better off in another career than deal with those people all day, because they're going to teach you that you are not worth anything. And that's not worth whatever it is that they're paying you. It's not worth it. Just fire them. Get rid of them. I only have clients who take themselves and me very seriously. They take their problems seriously. I'm going to North Carolina next Monday for just to size a ventilation system for a woman. And she's very excited. We got off the phone yesterday. She's like, I'm so looking forward to this. And yeah, she's paying my hourly rate is $200 an hour with field equipment. So this is a serious job. And I'm driving 2.5 hours each way to go to this woman's house. Of course I'm charging for that. So this is all to say that there are people out there who are looking for you. They just don't know that it's you that they're looking for. Okay, so let's see. Lynn says, hello, I'm an energy auditor in New Jersey. We recently started using Energy Score. What are your thoughts on it? Well, Energy Score being the home energy score, which is from Energy. It's a standardized 1 to 10 model for grading houses. I think it's fine. Anything to get people more interested in home performance and in thinking about the whole system of a home graded as one thing, so that the whole home is one unified body, is a person, basically. That's all good. I'm not against it. Is it a tool that I use? Absolutely not. Because it is a commodity. And if somebody else can do exactly what I do, I go do something else. If anybody can start to make YouTube videos, make a television show the way that I do the consulting and the training exactly the way that I do, I'm not going to do it. My mom had this same struggle. She ran a computer education company, and then everything started going online. And she was just like, you know what, I'm out. Because once it's online, now it's like, okay, well, I have an 8-hour class here, an 8-hour class here. I don't have to travel for either of them. It's going to be the same. I'm listening to a boring person on a screen. One's $49, one's $99. I'm going to choose the $49 one because I have to, because I'm forced to take this thing. And that's where the code thing becomes an issue. So I'd say, as far as home energy score goes, I'm not against it. But I think that anything that's going to simplify what people should be doing with their homes to a 1 to 10 score is totally overlooking the issue. The issue is that everyone is different. I have 2 cats, and I live in 210 square feet. I have a ventilation system that runs 24 hours a day. I have 2 daughters who both are still wearing diapers. We're trying to get one of them off right now. She's learning to pee on the potty, which I'm very excited about. My situation is completely different than somebody who has a 3,000 square foot house with no kids, 55 years old. They're off at college and eats out every single night. Very different. The idea that houses are houses are houses and that every house should perform the same is completely ridiculous. And anybody who says that that's the truth has not thought about it enough. That's just the simple fact. Okay, so Joe says, I hear that they made it code to have manual J calculations on new homes, and there is no real good math behind them. Let's see here. I think what Joe is trying to say is that you can make manual J say whatever you want. That is partially true. It's just like a blower door test. Let's use infrared, for example. right? Because everybody knows what an infrared camera is. I could go into your house today and use an infrared camera and show you a picture that, and then say that that picture says, fill in the blank. I could say you need new windows. I could say you need a new furnace, new air conditioner. I could say you need more insulation in your walls. I could say you need an air sealing job. I could say anything because it's pretty colors, and the way that you use the camera, the palette that you use, the range and the scale that you're using, all that stuff matters. And then the amount of training that I have. So you could do a blow order test really badly and give horrible information and horrible advice. You could do the same thing with any other tool. You could do the same thing with a calculation. Now, Manual J, just to be perfectly clear, is a manual that's about that thick. It tells you exactly how to do a calculation that engineers have come up with, and not just one engineer, a bunch of them, to effectively calculate how much heating and cooling a house or a living space will need on the 99% most hot and most cold day of the year, wherever you live. If you do Manual J correctly, it is always with a computer software, period. Unless you're in about 2 counties in Tennessee, which is where they allow you to do it by hand, it's just not going to work. You must use a computer. If you're using a computer, there's a couple of like red flags. One of the red flags I give my clients, which is if you step into an open house and it's a brand new house, girl, you are so shedding right now. You step into an open house, brand new house, complies with code. Code in almost every state in the country right now is that Manual J, Manual S, and Manual D are required by law in order to get your certificate of occupancy, in order to get your permit. That means that if you step into a bathroom in the middle of the first floor, over a conditioned basement, under a conditioned second floor, there should not be a register delivering heat or cold into that room. If there is, it's wrong, because no computer would ever tell you that that room needs heating or cooling because it has no exposure to outside. So there's a couple like red flags that you could use. You could look at a Manual J report, which we do in the mastermind class, and suss it out for exactly what numbers are important. You can actually, I could have somebody in China send me a Manual J report, and I could tell you whether the person who put together this report really knew what they were talking about, or was maybe missed some things, or maybe cheated some things. Like I've had a couple of scenarios where people ask me, can you give me a Manual J that says 2.5 tons? Because I already installed the 2.5 tons. So I'm going to need this Manual J to say what I already installed. I'm not going to do that. So I think that yes is the short answer, but you really need to be careful about that, because there are ways, and the whole theme of performance metrics is that somebody else can check you. All this is just science. So if you get somebody else, you know, another ninja, and I get called all the time about people all around the country who are like, hey, I need a second opinion about this. Can you just do that? And I have an hourly rate for office consulting. So yeah, I do it. And I'll look at the report that somebody sends me and say, you know what, this person isn't, that's not who you want to go with. Or yes, this seems to be very credible. Go for it. Let's see. Lynn says, thank you for answering. How do you feel about the Pearl certificate? Pearl is run by some friends of mine. I know some about it, but we have not begun working together yet. So I can say that they seem to have very high hopes, and they have their stuff together. They have a pretty thick packet. So I'd say feel free to look at it. I believe that they want it to be used by contractors to, like, when you make an upgrade on a home, you now can enter the new certification, the new Pearl certification number for that. So the idea is that you take any home and you do something to it. You upgrade the refrigerator, you get points. You upgrade this or that, you get more points. So it's like LEED, but there's no goal. There's no like, oh, you reached platinum now, and now you're officially stamped. It's like, you know, let's make some progress and see what happens. So it's not a systems approach certification, and I think that they will say the same thing. Their goal is to get everybody to like think systems, but that's not the way that the points lay out. So I don't use it because I'm not a contractor. Let's see here. Andrew says, help me. I live in Indonesia. I'm depressed now. I'm 22. I've been throwing away my time for 4 years. I did not continue my college. I'm an introvert, have no friends. What should I do for my future? I would say if you're in Indonesia, maybe don't become a mastermind, because I don't even know if they sell blower doors there. I'm sure that you can get an infrared camera from Amazon there. But I don't know much about I think this guy might be joking around with me. You're going to be okay, Andrew. Don't worry. Everything is going to be fine. Here's the advice that I give my 26-year-old little brother. He said, I need to find my dream job. And I said, no, you do not. There is no such thing as a dream job. I don't have my dream job. I do really cool stuff for work, but this is not my dream job. There's no such thing as a dream job. I could do something else next year or in 5 years or 10 years, and it would be like, what's interesting right now? So I'd say, go do something. Go deliver papers, go, walk dogs, whatever it is that makes you happy right now. And then after 3 months, 6 months, a year, you'll say, you know what? I think I'd like to do this now. And I think that if you can find a career like I have found where you can say, I think I'd like to do this now, and it happens to be a step up within the career path that you've already taken. Like if you look at mine, we started out doing blow order tests and infrared scans and HERS ratings for people. And I said, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to do more, testing of the whole system with the boilers and all that stuff. So then I went and got BPI certification, and I became, trained in testing combustion levels and gas leaks and stuff like that. And then I said, you know what, I'd like to train. So then I started training. Then I said, you know what, I'd like to help to make more video content. So we developed all the YouTube stuff. And then I said, you know, I'd like to move out of Chicago, and we'd like to build a tiny house on wheels and tour the country. And this is the same thing, same company. And now I'd like to develop this television show. And now I'd like to only do consulting for weird projects. So the idea is that you just step up and you find a way to take the next step forward in your career. And that's what the Mastermind course is all about, really. So Justin says, this stuff sounds really interesting, but I have no experience in construction. Where to start? I also had no experience in construction. So what I'd say is, if you, I can tell you that there is infinite opportunity. I can also tell you that there are not very many people who know how to take advantage of that opportunity and can see the opportunity consistently for what it is. I happen to be the kind of person who decides what is going to, like my hourly rate, like I said, $200 an hour. I'm not going to lower that. Sometimes I won't get a call from somebody who wants me to consult for them for 6 months. That happens sometimes. I will be doing other things. I'll be selling my book. I'll be making more videos. I'll be working on my television show. We'll be fundraising for the television show. I'll be trying to build my house. So really what is happening is that the universe is giving me what I can take right now. I don't need another consultation this week or for these 6 weeks, because what I really need to do is buckle down and design my freaking house, which we're about to break ground on. And I'm going to be coming out with some videos on that right now. But essentially what you need to know is that there is absolute possibility for you to learn how this industry works and how the entire construction industry works, knowing nothing about it. I came from playing music. I improvised music for dance companies and theater. That's what I used to do for a living 10 years ago. So in 2008, I decided to get into this. I didn't know anything about construction, and I studied real hard, and I bought equipment, and I started testing, and I asked a bunch of people questions. Those you can hear on the Building Performance podcast. That was my way of asking people, getting into the room with people who were really important and could answer my questions. And so I tried to make my process as transparent as possible for other people who are learning it. And that's what the 6-week mastermind is about, is trying to make sure that you don't learn bad habits that you have to then unlearn. For example, about to build this house, I will have a framing crew. No one on my framing crew, hopefully, will have ever framed a house before, because what I don't want to have happen is that I turn my back and a couple guys say, hey, you know what? It'd be easier if we just do this thing that we did in the last 6 houses. Let's just do that. That's not what I wanted to have happen. And so then I come back over and I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? That's not what I said to do. And they said, oh, well, it's easier. Trust me. I'm not going to have an argument like that. So I'm going to get only people who have never framed a house before so that I can teach them exactly what I want. Don't change the plan. And then I know how hard it is. Let's do it. So that's kind of what needs to happen, is that we need to learn these habits the right way the first time, because there's generally one right way to do something and about 1 million wrong ways to do it. Okay. So I'd say, Justin, to answer your question in very, very short, where to start by watching my YouTube channel, listening to the Building Performance podcast. Download everything that I've got, get into my training portal for free, see if you like that stuff. This course opened for enrollment today. If you want to dive in, you will have lifetime membership to it. So you could enroll this year, go through all the weeks and then gel on it while you're kind of changing your careers, come back to it in the winter, and then revisit, take it again next year. So that's kind of the way that it's designed, is that a lot of people who take this course will take it multiple years in a row and will participate pretty hardcore every single time. So, all right, Lynn says, buffered walls and sealing the gap between them, the wall and conditioned walls. I just recently ran an audit and the basement wall was actually penetrating into the garage. How would you deal with it? Okay, so first of all, you want to test it, make sure that it actually matters. What you're describing is that the garage often is like sunk down. And so the first floor, you step up to get to the first floor door, right, from the garage. And that little lip is the top of the basement wall. So that it can be an error, and often they'll just cover that up with drywall. So first thing is zonal pressure test while you're running a blower door test. Make sure that the zonal pressure says that it's an actual problem. Then you move ahead or use smoke, etc. Then you're going to move ahead with air sealing. You can do a couple different things. Often it will require you tearing off a face unless you're going to use spray foam. Right now, I'm going to be perfectly honest about this. I'm not about spray foam at all. I'm not about foam in general. All foam, including spray foam, has flame retardants in it, which have been proven to be endocrine disruptors and carcinogens and all this gross stuff. So in my opinion, whenever I have a client, I do not recommend spray foam or foam products unless they're going to be behind a substantial air barrier. Substantial air barriers being drywall, plywood, membrane, etc. So I'd say you're going to probably need to peel off a skin, whether it's inside the basement or inside the garage, but that's going to probably need to happen. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, good. Let me get into the client simulation thing. This is something cool that we're doing this year. So inside the Mastermind course, every week you have the fast track task, which is like a worksheet that you work on where the entire point of this course is to absorb this stuff. There's a saying that good artists borrow, great artists steal. And I believe that it was a serious artist who said that. It might not have been Beethoven, but somebody like that. And the idea is that stealing is what it is called when you learn English, or you learn like, hey, that's cool. Like I learned that phrase from somewhere and then I ingested it and I made it a part of me. So now Corbett is that guy who says, hey, that's cool. So that's kind of what it is about, is taking these ideas that you love and not just stealing them for a second and using them for something and then moving on to the next idea, taking that idea, swallowing it, eating it, and making it be a part of you. And now it's a part of what you do. That's what all this is about, is transforming yourself. Not transforming the outward appearance of yourself, which is all about what Instagram and Facebook and everything is, this all surfacey stuff. What you want to do is ingest and get the interior part of you, just like Tai Chi, to be the thing that is giving you the energy, so that it's not, you don't look like you're doing a lot of work, but actually there's a ton of stuff going on in the intricate inner workings. Okay, so by the way, let me just get through this real quick. So client simulations. This is kind of cool. I had this idea in a dream. So we're going to have, every week, you're going to have an imaginary client contact you, and they're going to ask you for help. And you're going to need to come up with what kind of protocol, what series of tests you're going to offer them. And you're going to need to email them back and tell them exactly what's going to go on. And I want to make sure that people are not writing in all caps. I want to make sure that people are using punctuation. I want to make sure that people have their signature, which has their phone number in it. Things like that, to make sure that you're prepped for when real clients contact you, which they will do all the time. To give you an idea, I have 2 clients in North Carolina, which is 250 miles away. I have a client locally here in Atlanta. I have a build project happening just over the border in the Carolinas. I have a project in Arizona that is also looking to hire me. So all of this to say that once you become a ninja, there's really no, I mean, I happen to have a YouTube channel so people can know who I am from a far way away, but there's no reason you can't have a YouTube channel too. It's free. That's how crazy it is. I do not spend money on marketing or advertising. I spend money on time. So I will sit here for an hour and I'm not getting paid for this hour. What I'm doing is getting to know people around the country and around the world, like our friend in Indonesia, who's going to be okay. so that I can now make a connection with you and have you think, oh, wow, that guy was the guy that we should hire if we ever need X, Y, or Z. Okay, so Andrew says, thank you so much, sir. How to remove... Oh, Andrew is sad. Andrew, I'm not the guy to help you. I'm sorry. This webinar is about my 6-week mastermind course. If you would like to learn more about home performance, I can absolutely teach you. But as far as life coaching stuff, for somebody who's 22, I'm just not. I'm so far from that. I'm 39, so I'm 17 years older than you. I could technically be your dad. So I just think that what I would do is ask somebody who's closer in age to you. That would be probably helpful. Also, somebody probably who's local, because this is a face-to-face. You want to have a face-to-face conversation about this. Okay, so client simulation is going to be video interactions where somebody kind of describes their problems and says, can you help me? And then you're going to say, ooh, you know what? I think that what we should do, first of all, certainly I can help you. Here's what we're going to try and do. Blow order test, a little bit of infrared. I'm going to come up with some recommendations for this. And then these are the targets that you're going to want to look at. And so this kind of idea of ingesting all of this information, very important. So in addition to the tour that we did, the tiny lab that we built, the television show that we made, which is about to come out. Oh my gosh, this is taking forever. The television people do not make it easy for you. I'm going to say that right now. And the house that we're about to build, all of the other life stuff that's been happening, like my kids and, living in a tiny house for 2.5 years, all that stuff has also kind of helped me craft this way of thinking about things that's a little bit, I'd say pretty different probably than the way most people think about it. Now, I used to think that that was weird and maybe not applicable to other people, but it's not true. And in fact, if you think the same thing, if you're like, well, my experience doesn't apply to other people, that's absolutely not true. Everyone has something that they are an expert in. If you are an expert in living with 2 cats in 210 square feet, that's something. Not a lot of other people in the world do that. Not a lot of people in the world have started an air conditioning company, have learned to use a blower door, have learned to use computer modeling, didn't even know what Manual J is. So as you get more and more into whatever it is that you do and follow your interest for sure, there's so much to do within home performance, within testing, within modeling, within talking about it, within educating, within, I could go on and on. That as you follow your weirdness, your own personal weirdness, which I clearly have been following for a while, you will find out that like, ooh, this is my real niche. This is really interesting because you'll learn what people want from you. And this is where it gets really exciting. When you are let's just use air conditioning as an example. You're an air conditioning tech. And all you hear all day long is your boss wants you to go out and change boxes. And your clients don't want to hear anything about the extra blah, blah, blah. They want you to just change the box and shut up about it and take the old box away. When you hear that again and again, you think that that's your job, is to be a box changer, and that's all the world wants from you. When you start doing some different stuff and shaking it up and getting outside of that box, you'll find out that people are like, ooh, well, can you do this? And you'll have enough people do that you'll realize, like I did, like, oh, I'm not an energy auditor because no one ever asked me about energy. So what am I now? And now you have to find a new way to kind of describe what you do so that people can get within 5 seconds that, oh, I should ask you about this question, that it used to take a month for somebody to go, hey, do you know how to do this? So that's the kind of thing that you can really start to explore when you know enough about diagnostics, metrics, performance, invisible dynamics, computer modeling, etc. All that becomes much, much easier. People are asking me, can you guess which country I am from? No, I cannot. Next question. Do you believe with the power of a dream, young men without a degree, just high school, will get success in business? Yes, I do. I'm happy to answer that question. I do not think college is that important. Let me say that again. I don't think college is that important. I have a good friend named Brian Orr from Kalos Home Services. who also runs the HVAC School podcast. One of the smartest guys you will ever meet. Also one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Also has 10 kids. Also employs 67 people. Started a huge company with his dad. Did not go to college. And not like, and the exception proves the rule, but I'm just saying what we need in today's world is people who know how to do things with their hands. If nobody can make this, we don't have salt anymore. We just have like, oh, I'm going to go to the 24-hour open bin store and get the handful of salt that I need for the next day. We're not going to do that. We need people to know how to build the machines that can make this, to lath this, to blow the glass, all that stuff. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for trades. That is what this is all about. Is home performance is about trades. It's not about blue collar people who sit in there. What is it? Blue collar or white collar? White collar, I guess. I'm kind of neither and both. I have blue and white. Oh, that was an accident, but it's a happy accident. There is no such thing as somebody who's going to sit in their office all day and be happy anymore, because the people who sit in their offices are totally miserable. They sit in front of a computer and they do basically menial labor. If you're actually making things, if you're installing air conditioners, if you're building houses, if you're retrofitting houses, if you are fixing roofs, putting in plumbing, all that stuff, or making any of the products that we need in order to make those things happen, that is all totally the future. And by the way, I'm not saying that that's 100% of the future. I'm saying that that is your main opportunity right now. Is the fact that you do not have a college degree is a huge benefit for you, because you are starting out $200,000 ahead of people who went to some crazy Ivy League university and got a liberal arts degree. You have $200,000 more than they do. And by the way, once they pay all those loans off, it's going to be about $400,000 more. So bam, you're already winning. You are already heads and shoulders above the competition. Anno Rex wants me to tell you the naughtiest thing I did in my teenage years. I'm going to tell you right now, nothing. I was actually a really good boy. When I was 18, I actually got mad at my mom because I didn't have any stories of crazy things that I did when I was a teenager or when I was a kid in general. I was seriously just a good boy. I was the captain of the band. I was the drum. I was on drumline. I practiced piano. Like one time I skipped out of class so that I could go to the school auditorium and practice my piano solo. That's the naughtiest thing I ever did. So sorry to disappoint you, but that's about the worst you're going to get from me. Okay, so we have 25 minutes left. We can cut it short if we need to, 20 minutes. But if anybody has questions about the Mastermind course, not about my naughty past, feel free to ask. Let me talk about some of the weirder things that I've been doing lately. Yes, it is true I studied music. I went to Berklee College of Music and I got a degree in professional music. So weird things that I've been doing lately. I tested some HVAC grills, room grills. You saw that on Instagram maybe. They were beautiful, cast resin, poly resin, like they look like they're cast iron. And they wanted to know what the pressure drop and what the velocity and all that stuff was. So that's something you can do with a blower door and an anemometer. I have those things. Let's do it. What you're doing is competing with, and by the way, this is something that happens a lot. People think that an industrial hygienist is the right person to call when somebody has funny smells in their house. No, no way. Nope. I'm sorry, but they're not. Industrial hygienists are really good at industrial hygiene, not houses or diagnosing houses. That's what home performance professionals are for. So I will absolutely take a job if somebody says, ooh, should I call an industrial hygienist for this? No, you shouldn't. You should call a home performance professional. So there are testing laboratories where you can get these tests done. And of course, they're going to be very, very expensive. And of course, they're going to do a great job. But also, they're paying rent on like $25,000, 1,000 square feet of space, offices for all these engineers. These engineers are paying off their student loans. I'm not doing any of that. I got some really cool equipment. I have a workshop. If you don't care that it's not being done in a sanitary, sterilized environment, that's open air, that might have birds flying around in it, and I'm using equipment that is for residential applications, cool, let's do this. It all moves air. It all measures air. It's all, doing within, a certain accuracy percentage. Most people are not going to care. So this is the kind of thing that you can do, is testing those. Like I said, this ventilation sizing job, because this client of mine has spray foamed her entire house. And so now she feels like the air is too stale and it's too tight in there. She wants to know exactly how big it is. I got actually word by the HVAC company on that job. If the HVAC company knew what the little bit of what I know about ventilation sizing, they would totally be able to take that job themselves, and they wouldn't need me. All you need is a blower door. Basically, what I'm going to do is go to her house, do a blower door test, do a full inspection of the house, do zonal pressure testing, find out exactly how airtight the house is, do ASHRAE 62.2-2013 or 16, size a ventilation ERV system that's going to have that as the midpoint that can dial down and dial up from there. Bam, done. And they're going to show up at the end, and we're going to talk about the ducting system and all that stuff. So it's going to be pretty simple. And this is, again, the kind of thing that only somebody who has a very specialized knowledge for some absurd reason can do in today's society, because everybody is so specific. Like, I'm an air conditioning guy. Well, really, you're an HVAC guy, which means heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So you should be able to totally size a ventilation system. You should be able to install kitchen exhaust hoods. You should be able to install bath exhaust fans. But of course, it's like, that's not changing boxes. That's not what I do. There's so much opportunity. Again, it just takes looking at it and finding out what the opportunity is. All right. Best of luck in Indonesia, Andrew. Thanks for coming. Tube Surfer says, what experience do you have with HVAC? I was watching your videos on measuring static pressures. Very helpful. Thank you very much. My experience with HVAC is School of Hard Knocks. I did not go to HVAC school. What I did in the very beginning, I wanted to get what's called the BPI Air Conditioning and Heat Pump Professional Certification, because I wanted to test. Some houses don't have, believe it or not, in the north, some houses don't have combustion. They have heat pumps instead. The house that I'm speaking to you from right now has a heat pump. And I wanted to be able to diagnose those too. And so the idea is that you hire a professional who's really good, and you watch them do their thing on your system after you've done some research. So you're prepped, so you know what to look at when they show up. You watch them do their thing. You ask them questions, and that's part of the deal. I'm going to hire you, and I want to be able to watch what you're doing and ask them questions. And then they leave, and you're like, okay, I think I've absorbed some of this stuff. And you do that a couple times, and you find out pretty fast that the people who you think are HVAC experts are not HVAC experts. They are actually not. They are craftspeople in a very specific method of doing either, installing or diagnosing. They might be brilliant at sheet metal shaping, but they're not going to be very good at diagnosing airflow problems. And that's because we all have limited bandwidth. And so what they're mostly going to be concerned with is learning about the new furnaces, the new air conditioners, the new thermostats that are coming out every day, and now also air purifiers, ozone machines, which, by the way, never let your clients get an ozone generator in their house, ever. It's terrible for people's health and for pets. All this different stuff, dehumidifiers, etc. That's where their mind is at. They're just totally running races around this new technology coming out all the time. They have to learn all this stuff. They have to know, have a catalog of every capacitor they could possibly want to order from a York piece of equipment from 30 years ago that they show up and somebody has. This is what their life is like. So if you become an expert in like trying to really tinker with this stuff, I don't know anything about wiring for air conditioning. I don't know anything about capacitor testing. I don't do electrical testing on HVAC. What I have figured out is there's a real need for airflow testing and for velocity testing and static pressure testing. So that's what I've done, because if you want somebody to test the refrigerant lines, you could get any HVAC company to come out and do that. That is the only test they are going to do. Now, there are better ways to do it, like using the little Testo wireless probes that don't steal a hose full of your refrigerant when they leave. That's pretty cool. You've got digital feedback. You can upload it to the supervisor back in the office. All that stuff is really cool, and those are all things that you can do once you become more of a mastermind at home performance. Let's see here. So I'd say that I put out that video on static pressure because I found out that it's just, you think that everybody's measuring it, especially because it's on the sticker, and nobody is doing it. And that's just the way that it is. It's like anything. You think, oh, well, fresh water. I run a drink stand. Slurpees in Mexico. Probably not a good idea to use local water to make the Slurpees. But not everybody's going to do that. They're not going to buy fresh water and put it in there because they're a little bit lazy and something happened and whatever. And my dad did it this way. And anyway, when you add the sugar, it takes out the little whatever that would make people sick. That's going to happen in every single field you go into. You want to talk about a really screwed up field? Let's talk about birth industry, hospitals and births. Those people are the worst. All kinds of things like, okay, let's talk about home performance for a second as far as babies go. I think I might have said this before, but listen to me for a second. You got 2 sacks. This is how somebody who did not go to engineering school knows enough about physics to basically call all of the doctors who have delivered babies over the past 100 years kind of dumb. You got 2 sacks. One of them is a baby-shaped sac. One of them is a placenta-shaped sac. They're connected by a tube. It's called the umbilical cord. That's what it's called. You're going to take them and you're going to move them apart a little bit. And then you're going to take the baby and you're going to squeeze the baby down through this birth canal so that the baby comes out the other side and it's really deflated. All of the liquid has moved over into the other sac, the placenta. What we're going to do now, instead of letting the 2 equalize over the next 10 minutes or so that they're both equally filled with blood and therefore equally happy and able to go about their lives, and then clamp the cord, is as soon as that baby is squeezed out and it's all deflated and has no blood in it, virtually, we're going to go ahead and cut that cord because that's how little we understand about physics. This is the kind of stuff that when you actually take, you get the balls and you go out and you say, you know what, I am an expert in this. And I'm going to start thinking about this thing according to that belief that I am competent to make diagnostic analyses of the world around me and understand that the world is a system. You will realize that people who you thought were really smart before, not that smart. All right. Let me get off my soapbox for a second. Bug Killer 666 says, what happens when you're with your storage place where you keep your tools? I remember seeing you built it super tight. I did, and it's awesome. It's been through about a year now, and it's terrific. I keep all my diagnostic equipment in there. I keep all my metal tools, my tools for woodworking and nail guns and compressor and generators. Also all of our furniture storage because we live in a tiny house and I've got like a couch and my musical instruments and all that stuff. That's all in there. And it's kept it super dry. Perfect. It's a beautiful building. It's called the Dry Vault, by the way. Hernandez Jose Felipe says, hello, got a question. I got a new AC in the house. They did a duct test run, 25 Pascals, and they got 110 back. What's a pass and what is not a pass for a 3-ton AC? Great question, and you cannot answer that question from the information that you gave me. What you need to know, it doesn't matter how big the air conditioner is. What you need to know is how big the area of condition is called the conditioned floor area that air conditioner serves is. So if it's 1,000 square feet, it depends on what state you're in, but let's just say you're in Illinois, where I came from. That's going to be 4 CFM per 100 square feet. So if there's 10 hundreds in 1,000 square feet, you would be allowed 10 times 4, which is 40 CFM. So 40 would be a pass. 110 would be way past failing. If you got a 10,000 square foot house that 3-ton air conditioner is serving, which you don't, then it would be 400 CFM that would be a pass. And in that case, 110 looks great. So congratulations. Let's see. Tube Surfer says, none are really familiar with load calcs, etc. No HVAC professionals, I think you might mean. And that is because, in my belief, I think you're right, a lot of HVAC professionals, a lot of HVAC technicians do not know what a load calc involves. They haven't seen one, they haven't done one. And that's because a load calc is, by its nature, a computer task. And it's pretty gross. I'm a computer guy. I've been using Elite RHVAC, which is a load calc software. I'm moving to RightSoft, and I gotta tell you, even I'm like, I have a college degree. It's not in anything, but it's that kind of mindset where it's like, I'm college educated. I should be able to figure that out. It's real rough. So if I was a HVAC guy who generally spends all day in somebody's attic, and I have to sit down in front of a computer and learn to use a manual J software, That's not going to happen. So what we need is to have a division of labor within these companies. If it's big enough to have a guy who does the designs, or a girl who does the designs, and a girl will probably be better, and then send those designs off to a dude to, spec the sheet metal and all that stuff, so that then you've got people who are good at what they're good at. That way you're not asking one person to be everything. It's just like, I don't ask myself to be everything. I am not an HVAC guy. I don't know about capacitor testing. I've never installed ductwork. Well, I have installed ventilation ductwork, but that's the kind of thing that we really need to pay attention to, is that everybody has a tough job. And if you really want to stay being a box changer, probably not also going to have time to learn manual J calculations. All right. Nano Rex says, what's the address for the house on the market? And the kids are looking forward to getting the money. Get the car and we can talk about it later. I will take care of the kids. Our history. This is what happens when you have a YouTube channel sometimes. All right, I don't even know what to make of any of that stuff. So sorry, but that was me reading totally insane comments. So I think that we've about wrapped it up. 6-week mastermind. You stay in your hometown. I stay in my hometown. Everybody in the world who's participating. And by the way, we've had people from Ireland, from Bolivia, from Canada, from the US, all over the place participate. You all participate at the same time. You all get to know each other. There is a Google forum now that's private that you will join, and we can have conversations. You get to know each other. Communicate offline. We'll be emailing. You'll get emails several times a week from me reminding you, giving you new links to things that are happening. And I spend 6 weeks really focusing on people who are in the mastermind course. So please do take a look at it. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and take the 10-minute tour, download the brochure, take a look at all that stuff. If you have questions about any of the rest of the stuff, pricing wise, it's $1,800. You can do it in 3 payments over 3 months if you want to. You get half off anything else from me that you want during the period of the mastermind course. And also people who sign up in the first week will get free bonuses. You get a free one-on-one hour of coaching. You can start or during the course of it or after if you want to. And a free book or e-course of your choice. And that includes home performance for tiny spaces, BPI exam prep, radar exam prep, etc. So yes, sorry you missed it. But that's okay. You can watch this. It'll be up on the YouTube channel. So please do check that out. There's also the giveaway that's happening. You should pay attention to the HVAC School giveaway. You should go over to hvacrschool.com and check out Brian Orr's podcast there. He's awesome. That's an awesome podcast. Way to learn about a bunch of HVAC stuff if you want to. Sometimes I do not want to because I have a full head of all that stuff. But if you are like, ooh, I want to learn more about this, he's definitely got it over there. We're doing a specific giveaway for HVAC School audience that is a whole bunch of CPS products, HVAC stuff. So like a really cool digital torque wrench, a bunch of HVAC supplies and stuff like that. It's like a really cool, sweet deal. So check that out. You can sign up for that at the Mastermind Course website, which is buildingperformanceworkshop.com/mastermind. Also, check out the 2 free giveaways for Mastermind enrollees, which are the enclosure kit. That's a Clear One Pro camera for an Android phone. And I'm going to give you an Android phone in case you don't have one. That way you'll have an extra in case you do have one as well. And also the HVAC kit. And you choose which one you want, enclosure or HVAC. HVAC kit is a 4-channel temperature and relative humidity data logger with 7 probes. And then you get a My Testo 416, Testo 417, large vein and small vein anemometers. Those are the giveaways. That's what we're doing this year. It's kind of a cool thing because this year we're able to take the time to really come up with some new things for the course. I hope that you will check it out. I hope to see some of you in the course. Thanks very much for tuning in.